Hello people and welcome back to the Case Mega Man commentary, and Mega Man 4 is next. Dustman stage, as you might imagine, has a few stretches of problematic instances, you could say. Have to know that the up and downs are there, for one, but shooting the dust blocks at the end of the stage is probably the biggest hurdle. Just have to take your time and be careful about it. Avid room for Big Eye right here. And yes, I'm still going to call them Big Eyes. Ladybugs will be a problem if you don't kill them. So make sure that each one of those gets killed. Otherwise they will hurl back at you and then chase you as long as needed. And that's a sure way to mess up the challenge. These ones don't really have to pay attention since you're at the end. Eddie trying to help you. No help in this challenge. So this is the problem area. Then you can kinda shoot however you want to, as long as you watch out when you create a hole to the other side. Have to be careful not to rapid fire at that point. Of course, turbo controller not allowed. What I mean is that just don't fire willy-nilly. I think that was a close miss. Just really have to take into account the elevation. It looks like your shot is getting curved, but it's just traveling from its original point of where you shot it from. So it just looks like it's curving, but it's just that you're moving up and down makes it look like it is. But still a good thing to keep in mind. That was extremely fast from my side. I figured that would have been a lot longer of a process. Goes to show you how much I remember about these runs. And then you have the Trollmet, the only different one in the level. Requires 3 shots and 1 more Big Eye for good measure. Luckily Mega Man 4 gives you avid space pretty much every time there's a Big Eye clone. So that's good. Then Dustman is quite easy once you get here. Probably not gonna mess this up. I wouldn't imagine that you would. Dustman is quite simple. You can either slide under the dust blocks or you can jump over them. And then most of what you will be doing is waiting for this to end, as he's sucking you. Now, you can interrupt his vacuum by getting hit, but as you might imagine, not that great of a strategy for a no-miss run. And a no damage, for that matter. So it's all about just watching for his movements, and Mega Man 4 has a weird thing where the closer you are to certain robot masters, the greater the chance is that they do something differently. So if you're close to Dustman, he has a greater chance of firing, and if you're far away, he has a greater chance of sucking. So just stay close to him and he might get in a loop like that. He might just fire or jump, but if you go far away, then he has a chance to vacuum. That's Dustman in a nutshell. Moving on to Toadman's level. The beginning might scare people off of the level. It's kind of like a Gemini Man stage in a sense, but not as hard. It's really about spawning things in at your own pace. As you can see here, getting into a lot of trouble for not doing that. So scroll one enemy on the screen at a time. And it's easier, and once you get past the first stretch, just go ham on it. Move yourself. Tricky jump right there. All of these jumps can be tricky, but luckily this section is at the beginning. Now there will be a few meat bosses coming up, and the first one can be done with a safe spot. The second one, you just have to master it. Always loved this section here. Toadman stage is one of my favorite stages ever. Again, if you haven't seen my top best stages list, go check that out. I also have a list up for best weapons and best robot masters. All well received, if you wish to watch those. There are some hidden energies in the water on the left. We're not gonna need those. And here will be the first mini-boss. So there's a safe spot, which I found out. And you saw me tippy-toe to that location. So the bombs will never hit that spot. I don't think the ice do either, but just in case I like to jump anyway. It's a habit, can't break habits at times, and I'm only shooting once because the window to shoot him without dinging the shot is so small. Rather not risk it in a challenge like this. You could shoot 3 times probably, and I think you can, but it's just, why would you do that? It's a lot of measuring what you can do and cannot, what is risky and what isn't. That's what this challenge is about most of the time. Then there's immediately another harder one, and pick the upper route there to avoid the rats. Not sure if that was on video, that glitch at the bottom, but I saw a glitch definitely there. Old crap, old videos, but I like having these in a single video now. Even with some of the flaws, it's still part of my history, part of why I today know what I know. And here's where I started shooting twice. Because that fight you want it to end as soon as possible, because there's really no save spot. I mean, the save spot is still there, but you can't go there because of the waterfall, because it will drag you around. And one precarious jump there and then you're pretty much done. Toadman, as you know, I like how you go under the like floor sometimes. So Toadman you shoot when he lifts his hands up. That's all that it is. If you don't, he attacks you with acid rain that you can't dodge. You can also just, if you rapid fire him, you can also just keep sliding back and forth and hit him every time he lands. But this is the no-miss strategy right here. The moment his sprite state changes, just shoot him. And he'll be done. It's great getting here, because then you know that once you beat the stage, the boss should come down with it. Unless you make a horrible mistake, which is not unheard of. Now this one, I remember, Dustman. This run was supposed to be practice for the upcoming challenge. So I had pretty much no idea how to do the level. I had no prior experience with the no-miss challenge. What comes to Dustman, I've just... my only experience of the stage was me playing it normally. So this was my first ever practice run of the level, and I beat it successfully. I think this might be the only one that has... No, Brightman was another one that I beat on my first attempt, which is crazy. Well, we're gonna go to Brightman later here. So the Moby, your best bet is to just stay on the right side of the platform, and that way the missiles can't hit you. And once he starts to drag you, just respond to it. Dustman stage is really simple at its core. Some trickier placements, such as this one. But overall, it's a really easy stage. And Dustman himself, once you know how to do that, really easy as well. that's a lot of... That's the bulk of this challenge, really. You have to go in and experiment with things so long that you figure something out. Like you figure out how to do it. That's how you make a challenge like this happen. So you go through the stage, you practice it. You go back and forth, you practice certain areas multiple times. And then you start the attempts of the level from the beginning. Once you know how everything works. It doesn't... You should not go back to the beginning every time. You should practice certain areas individually. So let's say you always have trouble at the end of the stage. If you always start practicing from the beginning, it's gonna take you a long time to beat the level like that. So just practice the end until you're good at it. Such as practicing Diveman first without beating the level. Because if you don't, you're always gonna do the level perfectly. And then you mess up at the boss because you don't know how it works. That's just time wasted right there. So already when you're attempting these levels, you should know how everything works. But this is just my first practice run here, so I didn't really have any idea. So I just went for it and happened to do it. There's really no insta kill spots, is how I would put that. No spots of instant failure in this level. Pretty much everything is on the same spot every time. Once you acquire the knowledge of how everything works, then it's no problem. And I already knew how Diveman worked before I attempted this, so that's one reason I did this on my first try. So I had prior knowledge on Diveman's secret. Messed it up there, but I managed to collect myself. So a small hop over him when he comes at you, then you just swap sides. If you make a large jump, this doesn't work. So it's that precise. Because then you're too far away from him. If you make a large jump, he will alter his AI. So small hop over him, take care of the missiles, swap sides. Rinse and repeat, he will never change. So a lot of these Robot Masters are about finding their secret, finding what makes them tick, and how they react to different things. Mega Man 4 is a good example of this. Might take a while, but what does it matter if you can do it? If you did not know this strategy, Diveman would be probably one of the hardest Robot Masters for this entire challenge. If this didn't make him get stuck in a loop. Luckily he does. And last shot there. Ringmaster H was always thought to be the worst stage in this entire challenge because of the hippos. Oh my god, ghosting is really bad again. My apologies. I can't fix that anymore. These have been recorded already. But back to the stage. So it was thought to be a problem for a really long time that shooting the pedestal of the hippo would count as a miss if you kept rapid firing the pedestal, because it looked like the shots missed, like they didn't go anywhere. But in fact, one piece of the pedestal, like one block, takes 2 damage. But if you shoot one block 3 times, the block below actually sucks in the shot. So you can just keep firing at this pedestal and not miss a shot. That was a relief. Once that was figured out, then this was no problem. I mean, it's still somewhat a problem, but at least you can now keep shooting at the pedestal. So that's good. And this is really... Can't really count your shots when you're trying to get rid of this as fast as possible. You just have to kind of get lucky as to not overshoot it. But that was a huge help for this level, knowing how the pedestal works. So you can check that if you attempt this level. So go ahead and fight the hippo and shoot 2 times, or rather shoot 3 times on one block, and then shoot at the next block that emerges from below, and you'll notice that it'll only take 1 shot. So that's how you know how that works. And that's how this was figured out. if that was not the case, those hippos would be damn near impossible to beat. Could be done, but trying to count your shots on every block and then avoiding the missiles, that would be crazy. So here's another one. Once this is done, basically the whole level crumbles down. Sure, the last ring tosser can be a problem as well, but I like to count on those. So that's what I like to do. So I can show you how that works, since my commentary is not fucking celebrating them. Since my commentary is not the original one from this video. So I can show you how counting works on that, or at least how I do it. Someone said I do it in a weird way, but hey, if it works, then it's not so weird, is it? I like to count to 5, other people like to count the shakes that they make. But I shoot on the 5th one. I'll show you how that works here shortly. Once we get past this troll room right here. And now hug the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how it works. Just keep doing that and firing on the 5th one. Can't miss. There's a lot less space here, so you just have to make a small hub. That's not to hit your head on the upper ring. On a normal run of this game, I usually just get hit by the ring and then just go past him. Because that's not a physical object, you can just run past it. If you get hit by the ring tosser himself, you take a lot of damage. But if you take a hit from his rings, you take far, far less. So take a hit from the ring and then run over. Or rather, run past him. On a normal run, Ringman, once you just stay close to him, should not be a problem. His pattern will just cycle every time the same way. If you're far away from him, he can actually throw 2 rings. That's not something you want. So just take care of this at your own pace. Should be fine. And that is Ringmaster H done, luckily. That was a pain. But not as big of a pain as it could have been. Skullmaster H. Weird. Didn't have me picking the stage in this one. Oh well. Skullmaster H. Oh yeah, this is live on Twitch. That's why. This was one of my live no miss challenge recordings. I remember this now. So Skullmaster H was always a problem to me. Well, not the stage, but the boss. People were wondering why that was. People kept asking, why is Skullman such a problem for you? And I don't know, it was just one of the hardest ones for me, even though the boss should be really easy. The stage is really nothing to sneeze at. It's just a bunch of small enemies. Just once you know where everything is, you just go through it. So the level is not the problem, it's the boss for me, which it should not be a problem. But sometimes we have different skill sets, we are good at different things. What would be easy for me could be hard for someone else and vice versa. It's just a case like that. So that's most of the stage done already. It's incredibly fast once you know how to deal with it. Going past very fast through all of this, which makes sense. It's a fast level once you acquire the speed and the knowledge. And then Skullman himself was the problem for me. Let's see what it could be. So I guess it's dodging these shots. Either do short hops over each of one, or do a long jump over 2 of them and then one smaller one. But it's really probably the shots that messed me up. But the thing to know about Skullman is that when he jumps at you, he will never land on you. He will land in front of you, if you just stay still. So that's important to know. So you don't have to be afraid of him jumping on you. Unless you're doing something horribly wrong. Just stay still when he's coming at you. And he will land in front of you every time, and then wait for his shield to go off and then jump over him. That's how Skullman works, but I guess the shots were too much for my brain. Never was a big fan of Mega Man 4's Robot Masters in the sense that they tend to use the Buster a lot. That's always been lame in my books. Like the fan game Rock and Roll got Skullman right, that's how it should have been from the get-go. Same for Fireman. That's just the truth of it. It really showcases the inability of the Robot Masters. Once you know how they work, you can really put them to shame. Such as Skullman here, he can't do anything once you've acquired the skill to beat him. And I'm glad I have some live recordings on this as well. So doing this on Twitch back in the day reaffirms that I'm really doing this. Like I'm not cheating or anything. So it was fun to do a couple of these live as well. Especially a hard one like Skullman that was difficult for me. It was fun beating it live. And I remember the comments that I got live as well, congratulating me. That was a fun time. Drillman's turn. The stage is really similar to Skullman in the sense that it has a lot of small enemies. The pacing is really similar. And it's just about fluent movement, I guess, is what I'm going after here. So it can be a fast level, depending on how you tackle it. But yeah, it kind of looks a lot like Skullman's stage. But I do prefer Drillman's stage to Skullman's. You can slide under that bed, but usually once you do, it opens up, so not worth the risk for 2 extra seconds. Sure, 2 extra seconds accumulates over the runs, but it's still not the risk I'm willing to take. And these cannons you could tippy-toe over, each one, which I think I did. Did on the first one, no reason to do it on the second one. I'm not sure if you hit your head at the top, but the first one can be easily skipped, so I just do that. It's easier to tippy-toe to the edge and jump over rather than to shoot them, because the window to shoot them is so small. So I'd rather just jump over them if I can. And luckily these stones drop down as soon as you're under the tube, so it's not random or anything. So you can take care of those immediately. And I would also advise taking care of the enemies as soon as possible. Because they will shoot, they will come at you, they will come back, they will chase you. So if you just leave those alive, you have too much to tackle at once. So always, my idea is that if there's a long stretch, just take care of the enemies. If you're not at the end of the screen already, at that point you can obviously run away. Like that, but if there's a lot of things that could stick around, just kill them. So Drillman, the only problem I suppose that this fight has is that it has so much like garbage. Like when he shoots, there's so much happening. So many things happening. The explosions are really distracting. And the sprite flicker and everything makes this more difficult. So that's the problem with the Drillman. And it has the same AI where the closer you are to him, the more likely he's gonna just shoot. So don't go too far away from him if you want this to be over faster. Essentially that's how it works. And when he's burrowing down like that, don't shoot him because that'll ding your shot. He will be on his iframes at that point. So this is nothing more than keeping composure, looking at what he does. And I think even if you shoot the trills that dings your shot, I'm pretty sure it does. So you can't even shoot his shots. So just always stick close to him, which is, funnily enough, something I think people wouldn't think to do. They would probably like stay away. because he's so dangerous. Why would you go near him? But that's the way, it's the easiest. Kind of like going into the mouth of the tiger. Wouldn't think to do that, but maybe his weak point is in there. That's just the beauty of this challenge as well. Tackling hard robot masters point blank, because that's the easiest way to deal with them. That's fascinating as hell. Kind of a risky shot to take there, but I'm happy it paid out. Moving to Brightman, the bastard of Mega Man 4. Funnily enough, after practicing individual sections, I actually beat this stage on my first full practice run. So this is the successful run you're seeing, and this is my first full run of the stage. Should note that Brightman should have taken me like a year to beat. So this whole run basically just moron's luck, I guess. The thing about Brightman is that he will only use the flash stopper when his health is at 16, 8 and 4. So if you are able to lay shots in him in a way where he doesn't land on those values before his next move, then he won't do the flash stopper at all. And that's how you're gonna beat this. So once you are at 17 hit points on Brightman, you want to shoot him twice in a very rapid succession when he's busy doing something else, such as shooting you. So that's when you fire twice, so that he doesn't land on those values. And that's the way to stop him from ever using his bright stopper or flash stopper, whatever the hell it's called. I love how they messed up like Flashman and Brightman and their weapons, like time stopper and flash stopper. It's really strange. But again, the stage is not too bad. Maybe a few problematic things, like being able to lay down the shots on these totems fast enough, because they do take quite a beating. Other than that, it's all about precision here. It comes to these weird swings, and you don't want to be to the edge there, which I was, because if you're too close to the edge on that one swing, you'll hit your head on the next swing and it'll start moving and you miss it. I just got lucky there. And the last enemy there can be problematic. You can just jump to it, and they can randomly ding your shot as well. Or it's not random, it's just one frame of them, but it's random if you really think about it, because you can't really control that. So that's why I didn't shoot it. So here you can see how Brightman should be killed. Again, true Mega Man 4 fashion. Point blank, and you have to count. You have to count what his health is at, because you can't keep looking at the health and counting that. So you have to know how many shots you've done, and then in a rapid succession fire twice, in order for him not to fall to certain damage intervals. And that is basically what makes him look like Toadman. This looks extremely easy when I'm just looking at this, but you have to keep in mind that a lot of knowledge has to go into this before you try this. I mean, just go try Brightman, just do the same thing and see how well you do. That is incredibly difficult, but that's how you do it. That flare again, completely necessary. Then we move the Pharaoh Man. Pharaoh Man stage here in the beginning can be problematic, and for that reason I'd advise killing the scorpions instead of jumping over them, unless you can safely make the jump. The hitbox is so big, and kind of depends on their speed as well. They all come in different speeds, as you can tell. For the purpose of this no miss, I did not get the balloon adapter, so if you're doing a no miss and no damage, I'd advise skipping that, because it skips part of the level. I would consider that against the rules. So as you saw there, probably you can stop right before the ladybugs come at you, and they will hurl right over you, if you know where to stand. This bat can be problematic if it doesn't open, but just a short hop should help. Don't want to make a high jump there. Sometimes the bat opens, sometimes it doesn't. All luck based as far as I know. Ooh, I always want to make that jump over the stairs. I don't know why. Feels good. That's one of the trickier spots in the level. Once that's been taken care of. Once that mummy dies, you're pretty much home free. Nothing else should come in your way. There we go. That was a close miss. Took the shots anyway. Pharaoh Man suffers from the same pattern-based quote problem, if you will, where if you're close to him, he's more likely to shoot. If you're far away from him, he's more likely to jump. So staying close to him is advised in this challenge, as you can see. He will almost certainly fire at you. Now he can snap out of that, but there we go. It's a very low probability, so that's a good strategy. Always wanna hug him, but just be ready for his movement. That's Mega Man 4 done. We will be moving to Mega Man 5 next, and I'll catch you then.